Imagine that it's possible that YouTube can pay you $10,000 to $20,000 a month in ad revenue, and you can turn around if you want to and reinvest that back into any of the digital marketing you want.
Hey there, everyone. Welcome to another episode of the Managing Partners Podcast. I'm Kevin, and I'm your host. And as always, I'm looking for cool people to bring to the show and bring you all great content. And I get to learn along the way. So excited to have Jeff on here today. I met Jeff. We spoke about a week ago, and has some interesting things that he's doing and stuff that, most lawyers think, that probably won't work for me or my practice or on a local level. And I feel like I'm the same way. So I'm excited for him to share what he's doing and how successful he is with it. And hopefully he can teach you a little bit of something here today and open your mind a little bit. So Jeff, welcome to the show.
Thank you, Kevin. Appreciate it, man. I appreciate the invite, and I'm looking forward to talking all things YouTube. That's the kind of my area of passion here of what I've done, but thank you for bringing me on.
Yeah, so this is all about YouTube today and how you can use it for your law firm. I'm going to try to better use it for for my marketing company. But Jeff, tell us, quickly your background before becoming a YouTube mogul and figuring that out. But, so everyone else here can kind of relate to your story.
Yeah. So, I mean, look, I graduated University of Houston Law Center, came out, worked at the district attorney's office as a prosecutor for 5.5 years, wanted to get a little bit of trial experience and be able to jump out there, and ended up starting a criminal defense practice back in, 2011, 2012 range. And when I came out, I mean, YouTube wasn't what it is now. And I was doing what everybody else was doing. I was going all in on SEO, ads, you name it, all the traditional ways that attorneys can earn business. And I'm not against those things. But as we've all seen, particularly since May of this year with search generative experience and just the whole kind of very centered focus by Google on ads taking a prominence, and organic is very difficult to scale now for your law firm. One of the things that I'm glad I took the steps back during the pandemic. So 2021 around there, everybody's in panic mode. Some people are just sitting around waiting for things to just, somehow get better. Well, it gave me enough time to stop and look and see and realize the traditional funnel, the sales funnel for lawyers, is a fairly small pond with tons of fish in it. Right. So you've got a lot of lawyers doing the exact same stuff, all doing the bidding and auctions for Google LSAs and everything else that's out there. And so I stopped and I started thinking, wait a minute, what are the other search engines? And I don't mean Yahoo or Bing. I mean, I found out that YouTube is actually the second largest search engine in the world. And I started looking to see what other attorneys in my area, what competitors are using YouTube now. And I was shocked. I mean, whereas there might be 50 to 100 criminal attorneys doing this type of, traditional marketing in my area for Google and for ads, there were two lawyers trying to do any ads, or not any ads, but any YouTube videos. And they were terrible. They were what I call vanity videos, where essentially they were like 2 minutes long, and they were like, oh, I'm the greatest lawyer in the world, call my office. And no one would watch them. No one cared. And so I immediately started thinking, okay, this is something I can jump into, very low risk. And maybe if I start figuring out how this works, maybe it'll give me a competitive advantage. And literally within 3 to 4 months, I started getting calls on my organic videos. And I never spent a dime on an ad for YouTube, and I still haven't. Never spent $1 on an ad for YouTube. What's that?
I said they pay you.
Yeah, that's right. Yeah, and that's what it's turned into now. When I talk to lawyers now, I tell them, I say, listen, imagine that it's possible that YouTube can pay you $10,000 to $20,000 a month in ad revenue, and you can turn around if you want to and reinvest that back into any of the digital marketing you want. And now your marketing is almost free, right? You can just spend your digital marketing ad spend on what YouTube gives you. And that has been a journey, though, of about 2.5 years for me, where as I began to learn a lot of these really good best practices, and I borrowed from a lot of other creators, not in the legal space, I'm looking to see what are other great creators' business models that are making millions and millions of dollars through the power of YouTube. I began to incorporate them onto the legal space.
That's it's so cool. And I know we're talking about it now, but Jeff showed me some of these things and taught me through it, and I was like very impressed. And again, here he is. It's a blue ocean, right? When you looked around, you're like, man, no one's taking advantage of this. In most firms, if you're listening, you use YouTube as a hosting platform to put your video so that you can put it on your homepage or your practice area page or whatever. And so you're not thinking about, well, what about the video on YouTube itself being searchable and useful versus we're just doing it for your website. And most marketers like me would say, yeah, just throw it on YouTube and then we can pull the code and we can slap it on your website. And so that's the majority out there listening or whatever. That's how you're using it.
Yeah. And so I can give you what I call the quick guide of how to get started. Let's say if you don't have a YouTube channel, what would be, if I were to start a YouTube channel today, what would I do? And there are, of course, I learned a lot of these lessons the hard way, a lot of trial and error, and I made mistakes. And you can go back to Hampton Law, my YouTube channel, and you'll see my early videos were awful. They were terrible. I didn't know what I was doing. The audio quality was awful. There was this like music playing in the background. I mean, it was just like goofy. And I learned very quickly, even though from those terrible videos, still made hundreds of thousands of dollars from those videos because they were full of value. And so here's what I tell people to do. If you were going to start a YouTube channel today, the number one thing I would advise a lawyer to do is to first sit down and assess their business and say, what is the 20% of my business or my service areas that are making me 80% of my profits? And under that 80-20 rule, we want to focus on that. So like for my criminal practice, it was DWI, it was like assault-based offenses, and it was like, felony representation. So when we put those together, I started saying, okay, I'm going to start creating what I call narrow content for those areas. When you first start, it's not about going viral. It's not about getting hundreds of thousands of views. It's about getting the right kind of views. And the way to do that is you want to create content that is specific to the search that the person's going to be searching for. And you want to optimize your title and the description to fit the second largest search engine in the world, right? And so for me, as an example of that, I had, we used to make a good amount of money, very good lifetime customer value from aggravated assault deadly weapon charges. They take a while. It's a high amount that is charged for that type of offense. And so I created a video for that. And 3 months after I launched it, if optimized properly, not only did it show up as number one for aggravated assault deadly weapon, Texas, or aggravated assault lawyer, Texas, but it also showed up organically Google when you do a search for aggravated assault, Texas. So you would find the video both on Google and on YouTube. And I started getting calls. Now we put call rail numbers and actually show the number on our video. So we can track the number of calls that are actually coming in just from the YouTube video because it's a unique identified number, right?
Sure.
So I can measure an ROI. What was that? Sorry.
So yeah, you're using tracking numbers, so you'll know that specific video is producing those leads.
That's right. Now we all know in marketing, attribution can be a tricky thing. Someone might find me there and then go to my Google business places to see my review count and all that. So we were actually getting even more. We were getting more traction than we realized at first. We re-optimized our intake system to find out at the very beginning how they heard of us. What is the first point of contact? And as we started to implement that into our record keeping and our tracking, we were able to see what percentage of calls were coming in from YouTube. And I want you to understand, I got my first hire 3 months after creating these terrible videos. And it was from an aggravated assault deadly weapon video, paid $10,000 all up front. I spent 5 minutes on a consultation call with them because I didn't have to sell them. They'd already watched the video. And so my conversion rate goes up significantly as well. And so now that same video over the last 2.5 to 3 years has made us $650,000 in new sales. And we know what it is because we're tracking it. And it's still evergreen. People are still searching for it and finding it and calling us even today.
And it wasn't even really highly produced, right?
No. that's where that's the barrier to entry that people have in their mind is they say, I don't have a YouTube studio. I don't have what kind of camera. Do I need certain kind of lighting? Look, viewers, imagine getting arrested or imagine getting in a car accident. Imagine whatever it is area of law you provide or divorce law or whatever it is. That person has a pain point. They're not going to care that much about you looking like Mr. Beast. What they're going to care about is they're going to care about, oh my goodness, this guy's got an answer for me. And that's why when you do record these videos, by the way, you need to look right at the camera and act like you're having a consultation with someone and just lay it out like you're sitting in your office. If somebody had come in and they sat down with you and took the time to have a consultation, give them that meat, right? Just lay it all out for them so that they understand. And you create a personal connection and it builds know, like, and trust with that person. And what ends up happening is they end up watching additional videos. They may go down the rabbit hole and watch other videos that you have on your channel. And then that leads them to calling in as a warm lead as opposed to a cold lead.
Matt, that's so powerful there. I've always said, like, what video or social and the things, or a video on your website, just use that as the basics. Like, there's a lot of lawyers that just don't even have video at all. And I always tell them, imagine if someone that did find your website, and this is not even YouTube, right? And they could see and hear you and connect with you, how much, better place they would be when they call, right? They call ready to sign. And I've witnessed this with this podcast and lawyers going, hey, I feel like I know you. I listen to your show or I watch your show. And you build that relationship and that trust. And they're ready to go. They've made a decision for the most part.
Absolutely.
So that's super important. So I wanted to ask a question, more so obviously you're titling these videos and so you're a geographic area. So the state of Texas. I think a lot of people are like, well, if I go viral somewhere or my videos get seen, how likely am I to get clients that are in a state I can service? But you're optimizing them for that local search, I would assume, correct? Today's episode is brought to you by Answer Legal. Now, I just switched my agency, Array Digital, over to using Answer Legal, and it's made my life and my team's life a whole lot easier. If I miss any calls, their 24/7 virtual receptionists take the call, but also take the callers through a whole intake process so that I never miss a new client or new business again. Answer Legal has actually been at this for over a decade, and they specialize in answering phones for law firms. They even now have an easy-to-use app, and they integrate with all the top legal softwares. Now, since you're a listener of this show, we have a special offer that you can take advantage of. 400 free minutes, a free trial, and you can test out Answering Legal's services. You can do that and get started to check that out. Go to answeringlegal.com/array. That's ARRAY. You can also call 631-437-4803 and use the special code Daisey. That's my last name, DAISEY, and get you signed up. Back to the show.
That's correct. So my first 100 videos, and this was at the time, I didn't know if what I was doing was going to work or not, but I took my knowledge of understanding local marketing and I said, okay, if my first 100 videos are going to be specifically optimized for search on both my titles, my descriptions, tags, you name it, and I'm just trying to get the local traffic, I'm not going to get as many views, and that's okay. I just want the right kind of views, and I don't need to have millions of subscribers. Sure. And it began to work. Literally within the first 6 months, I was getting 40 to 50 or more calls a month.
Wow.
And yeah, and I mean, and the conversion rate was 20 to 25% higher than any cold lead that would come in. So right away, and I didn't even have 4,000 subscribers. I mean, I probably had 3,500 or less subscribers at that point. It wasn't about the subscriber count. So what I tell people is this, of course, if you have a local service-based business, it's important that you exhaust your practice areas or your service areas that you provide and really go deep, niche, super niche, get down into the weeds on it. And you're grabbing people who have a current need for you that are going to be doing searches that are high commercial intent. That's what they're going after. And those are the kind of the potential viewers and clients that you want. Now, after I got to 100, I got all of my, 100 of those videos out there, and I started going, man, I'm running out of practice area things to do. Then I started saying, okay, and there's other ways you can do it. I started coming up with a little bit trickier, or I say trickier, just a little bit more I don't want to say clickbait, but click attractive titles, like 3 ways to get your DWI case dismissed, that type of stuff where people go, oh, that's interesting. And they would click, and it was still optimized for, local search. But then I started wanting to build the brand. So when you first start, you're just getting phone calls. Let's build sales and revenue. And then what you do is you want to build your brand. And if you want to build your brand, you can start to go wider. You can go broader. And the way I explain this is there is your expertise over here. Then there is pop culture over here. Somewhere in the middle between these 2 points is your expertise on display, so people are impressed. And then there's a pop culture thing like Tyreek Hill getting arrested, right? Or some issue like that comes up where guess what you get to do? You get to be the one that provides a little bit of edutainment, maybe a little bit of something that provides someone that has a broader interest, but it also provides your expertise on display. And when I started doing that, that's when I 10x'd my subscribers and my views within about 6 to 9 months. And now you're talking about, I'm at over 310,000 subscribers and we're at about 17 million views per month.
Wow. That's also, I kind of like how you break that down, because I think everyone naturally wants to go for views and subscribers, and they want to go viral, right? And so you stayed to, hey, that's not what it's about. It's about connecting with local people that need my help, and they become a lead because I can help them. That being the focus. And you got your success.
That's right.
You got your success after you put the time and energy into it and built up a good library of videos to be able to do those other things and be successful.
That's right. Because here's the deal. I'm not doing this to be an influencer, to be some star or whatever. I don't care about that. The only thing I want to do is grow my business revenues. And if you really want to grow your business and you want to use this as a tool in your marketing belt, that's what you do. You start narrow first, really get granular. I've got videos on stuff like fraudulent use, possession of identifying information. What? Like people are like, what does that even mean? Well, the guy who gets arrested for that, he knows what that is.
He'll find out what that means.
What's that?
I said that guy he's going to find out what that means.
That's right. And he's got it on his bond paperwork, and he's going to Google or he's going to YouTube and he's typing in certain things. And I know what search keywords are more volume related where people are searching, and I can optimize for that because I want that guy's phone call.
That's awesome. That makes a lot of sense. I mean, you get handed something, you don't know what's going on. You see what it says and you go, what's that mean? And you search for it.
That's right.
Interesting. That's a great way to so you're like super granular, right? That makes a lot of sense. And so what would you say, I guess you have kind of your step-by-step, but time and energy, how'd you get, when you got started, did you do this just in your office? How many were you recording? Were you batching them? Like, what's some tips maybe for folks that are like, oh, let me try this out?
Yeah. So I want to make it as easy as possible for people when they first start out. I didn't do it this way because I really didn't. YouTube Shorts didn't really exist at the time when I first started this. But if it were me starting over now, one of the things that I would do if I was not comfortable in front of a camera is I would start off. Remember I said the 80-20 principle. Mm-hmm. And you figure out that 20% of your service areas that provide, or service options that make you your 80% of your revenues. I would then come up with a list of like 20 FAQs about those areas. What are the frequently asked questions from your clients about those areas? And then based on those FAQs, I would then come in and make the title, including what you start your video on, something about a keyword, whatever that is. Like Texas, a big thing is about, for personal injury lawyers, a Stour demand. Like, what is that? Well, people who are facing a Stour demand, or people who are wanting to know how to deal with an insurance company or something like that, you can make that a specific keyword, and you start off that way, and you're very specific. You treat it just like you would talking to a client who just found out what a Stour demand is. They don't even know what that is, and you're explaining that to them. And so those FAQs, you just go through and do them in 60 seconds. You're going to practice in front of a video. What is a tower demand? Let me walk you through what that means. If you receive this from blah, 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 and you walk right through that, well, you're going to get comfortable your first 20 videos and you're going to say, okay, I got 20 out there. It'll get more eyeballs because shorts are put out to more people under that algorithm quicker because it's a swipe-based algorithm. And you'll get a few subscribers from it. It'll give you that dopamine hit. You'll say, I can do this, right? I can get started. Let's keep doing it. And then what you'll realize is, here's the test. Look at your 20. You're going to find of those 20, there's probably 3 or 4 of those that performed better than the other 17. Whichever 3 or 4 of those performed the best, make those your first longer videos. Go deeper.
Awesome. Okay. That's a good tip right there. Yeah, I think, when talking, I talk to people all the time, they're like, yeah, I wanted to start a podcast, and we bought all this stuff and we just didn't do it. Or they had that, perfection or analysis paralysis. They just never start. And,
right.
And so I understand what you're getting at. It's, if someone's listening right now and they want to start this, you got to just start it. Do it easy, do it basic. Jeff put out terrible videos and they're putting money in his pocket today. My first podcast, when I used to do my own personal podcast, I would record in my truck with my phone and a little wired in mic. And I would drive and talk and it was terrible. It sounded like crap. But you get comfortable, right?
Yeah.
We don't like the way we look to ourselves. We don't like the way we sound to ourselves until you just repeat it and you do it over and over again and you start to get better.
Absolutely.
That's a great idea. I love that. I never thought about that myself with the shorts.
Yeah, because now you're not guessing what works. You're going to be able to find out where when you put out your first 20 shorts, and invariably this is always the case, there will be 2 or 3 of them that will do better than the other 17 or 18. And then you'll say, okay, the swipe rate was lower. The view rate was higher. There were more interest in this particular type of content. Double down, make it a 5-minute video, go a little bit deeper, and then you post your first videos. And that's how you get started, your longer form videos. And I do want to be clear, shorts are great for awareness. Someone will see you and they'll go, oh, that's good content. But then what do they do after they watch that short? They swipe, they go to the next video. They don't really know you. You might provide them some instant hit of information, but it doesn't build trust. The longer videos, that's where it builds trust because you're going and providing more of your expertise. So I don't want people to stop at shorts. Shorts won't grow your business. You won't get a bunch of calls from shorts, but they're a great way to get started and get comfortable. Then you can start diving deeper down the rabbit hole when it comes to the longer form videos.
That's a great tip. And is there any, building, with Google, right? If I had a brand new website, there's no trust. It doesn't know who I am. If I have a new law firm, no reviews, no business listing, right. There's a big trust factor, and there's a time and trust factor. With YouTube, new account, no videos. Is there a time frame or, Google, I assume YouTube's got to be starting to say, hey, what's this account about? And is it getting any traction? Is there some method to that or truth to that at all?
Well, so yeah, when you first start, and what I would do now if I was going to start a brand new channel is I would not post my first longer form videos until I had 5 of them ready to record. And the reason why is because YouTube doesn't know what kind of channel you are. There's not enough data. Yeah. Right. So if you really want the algorithm to know who you are, you really have to launch enough videos at one time so that the algorithm understands, oh, this guy is a personal injury lawyer. He's talking about car accidents, insurance. Okay, now we know where to categorize him for his niche and an audience. Because you have to remember, the only thing YouTube cares about, the algorithm, and when I coach other attorneys and other professional service businesses, when they come to me, one of the things I remind them, it's not like the algorithm is for you or against you. The only thing the algorithm cares about is keeping people on the platform as long as possible and predicting what they want to watch. But if they don't have enough data from you to know what's predicted and what to associate, then they're not going to be able to suggest your videos out as well because they don't know who you are.
That's a good point. So give it what it wants. So you're saying kind of plan out those first five so that you can get them done, get them optimized, launch them out, and it's like an introduction. Hey, this is what I'm all about, and kind of set that baseline, right? Set the foundation.
Yeah, and people come to me and say, Jeff, how do I know I've optimized it correctly? Now I'm going to tell you what I did. If you have a Google account, you can go to the keyword planner. You can type in keyword planner. You can type in your practice area, and Google's going to give you a host of different keywords that you're going to see the search volume for. And what I would do is the highest search volume terms that are as geographically based as possible. Fort Worth criminal lawyer, Dallas injury lawyer,
Yeah.
you name it, car accident settlement, whatever it is that you're going to talk about. I would now want to put that in not only the tags portion of YouTube Studio, but also include those keywords in my description so that I'm making it very clear to Google and YouTube what this is about, and then have the number one most important keyword in my title in some way, right? When you do that, now there's all types of AI options that will help you with that now. You can use things like vidIQ and TubeBuddy. There's some other options out there that will help you with optimizing that. But the reality of it is that is an important point, because if you just throw it out there and you don't put a title and a description, you won't be seen. So I don't really worry as much about search now, because I'm broader and the algorithm suggests 98% of my content is suggested by the algorithm. But when you first start, you've got to make sure you're findable through search.
Yeah, well, that's a good point right there. I love that. Yeah, Keyword Planner is a great tool. It's free. We use it all the time. I use it all the time when I'm talking to lawyers looking for, ads or search or whatever. It's like, hey, let's see what the data tells us. What are we looking for here? What is the opportunity? I call it.
Right.
Apply that right to your YouTube. The same people, like you said, if I do a search in Google, the YouTube's going to come up top spots for any kind of question you're going to ask for. Google owns YouTube, right? So it's
Right.
boom. So even if they're not on the YouTube platform, and I think that's, I was talking to a gentleman earlier about YouTube. Like, are people in YouTube looking for this thing? Well, they don't have to be. They could be on Google, and then Google's like, hey, here's your answer. Oh, it's a YouTube video, right? I'd rather
That's
watch a
right.
video any day than read an article about it. So it's more helpful.
Absolutely.
Yeah.
That's why I tell people as well that YouTube integrates, when you create these videos, there is no such thing as wasted content. You can repurpose them for everything. I mean, think about this. I put those videos on my web page that covers that practice area. That keeps people on the page, the dwell on page, the bounce rate drops. People stay on the page longer. They watch the video, which is a good signal to Google. That's right. It also creates conversion. It creates a conversion rate when people watch that video. I then repurpose my longer form videos, put them on TikTok, Instagram, LinkedIn. And when you do that, I never have to create anything extra. I just leverage what I've already done. And now I've got 10,000 TikTok followers. There's other people and I've never done a custom video, not one ever, for TikTok. It's just taking what I've already done and repurposing it in another platform.
Yeah, and now there's tools for all that stuff, to create that stuff automatically, to come up with all kinds of different designs, layouts.
Yes.
It's built into almost everything. I use StreamYard a lot. Right now we're recording this podcast. It's in Riverside, but StreamYard's a good platform for like webinars or streaming on like LinkedIn. It's in like LinkedIn format. It's kind of like a YouTube video. But they have a thing now, you can just create shorts and reels and out of the long form, and you can choose
That's
like what
right.
clip you want to take, and it just puts the captions in there for you. You got AI tools. No excuse, I guess, right?
None. Yeah, and in reality, there are some really strong AI tools out there that if you just kind of want to go generic with it, like Opus Clip and Descript and some of these other ones, where literally they'll take your long form video and they'll carve up the most entertaining, exciting parts of your video, and it'll add B-roll into it. It'll add captions. B-roll being the visual
Images.
descriptions of, like for me, a cop grabbing someone out of a car or something like that. That's all added in on its own through AI. And so I tell people, look, these are things where you can get started. And I know it's uncomfortable at first. Anytime you first do something that's new, you're like, well, I don't know. But when you start getting your first call, When, like right now, every week now, I get at least one or two calls from someone that I never have to talk to, and they just pay all up front because they've watched my videos. So I want you to understand, right now, the average viewer on my channel, Hampton Law, watches 3.8 videos. 3.8.
Wow.
Now, my videos are anywhere between 10 and 20 minutes long. So what does that tell you? You're talking about someone spent anywhere between 30 minutes to an hour with me on YouTube. I mean,
Yeah.
that's the definition of establishing expertise and trust. And that's why when those people call in, many times I don't do the sales anymore anyway, but one of our sales lawyers doesn't even have to do the sales work anymore because that person's already watched it. Now it's just all about getting them paid and onboarded.
Yeah, that's pretty awesome, man. Yeah, and I'm an SEO and content, and we push video all the time. Hey, you got to make videos, and again, it's more of a conversion tactic to me than it is, getting the information to the client. But they get to see you, hear you, how you carry yourself, whether or not they're going to like you or not. They can make those decisions for themselves, and then time on page. Yeah, all those signals, all the other benefits you get from it. No one's going to read your long, huge 5,000 word page that you had to write to rank. They're not going to read that.
No,
They'll go a little bit and go, okay, either I'm going to convert or not.
that's right.
And they're not going to go read 5 or 3.8 articles. Doubtful.
That's right. Now, by the way, Kevin, I didn't answer your question earlier. You asked the question that, hey, how do you make this where it doesn't overtake your life? How do you batch your content? And one of the things we do with our agency is when I have a client that comes to me, I'll say, hey, look, here's what we're going to do. Let's get your first 4 videos ready, right? So we're going to come up with the topic. We're then going to come up with title. And this is what we do now. We come up with the title and the thumbnail before you even record.
Oh.
The reason why is if you don't get the packaging right, no one will ever open your present. If you can't make sure you get the packaging, the title, and the thumbnail right, then no one's going to click. And if no one clicks, you've spent all this time and effort to put together content that no one ever watches. So we want to make sure we have a good concept for title and thumbnail first. Then after the title and thumbnail is ready, we do the scripting. And then after the script is ready, then you can record all 4 of them at one time in a batch recording, and your entire month's worth of titles, thumbnails, scripting is all done at one time.
So I like that a lot because, say if I was a client of yours and I got my thumbnails and titles and all those things, that's tangible and it's exciting. Oh, man, this looks awesome and I can see it. And now like, okay, Kevin, now you have to record the videos. And so I think if you do it the other way around, it's like, oh, I have to record these videos and then we're going to come up with the rest of the stuff after the fact. And I think that's where you would lose people, right? They're like, I don't have time to do this. There's no excitement around seeing like the final product.
That's right.
Yeah.
That's right. Not only that, but think about it. If you're going to present to someone, you want to have the context of what the audience is seeing before they click. So when you understand, here's my thumbnail, here's my title, it'll make you have a little bit different energy when you record your script. Because
That's
you
great.
understand the context behind how everybody's going to accept your content, right? And I have found I do that with my own content now. And I'm going to tell you right now, as you go broader, because this is really specific as you go broader, if I can't find a decent thumbnail, I won't record the script, no matter how much I love the content. Because if I can't put together a good thumbnail concept and title, then I'm not going to have a high conviction a high click-through rate. And if people aren't going to click on that video, there's a good chance it's not going to convert. It's just not going to do well.
So you're saving a lot of time.
Absolutely. I want to leverage my time.
Well, plus, you have the title. So like you got the research, the search volume, like all those things have been figured out. So it's like we can agree that this is the video to record. So now let's record it. And that's going to make it a lot easier for a client, in my mind, to do the work and to get it done. Maybe like if you're an actor, and I was like, hey, Jeff, I really want you to be in my movie. By the way, here's the cover of the movie with you on it, and it just brings it a little bit more to reality and say, all right, let's do this.
100%. And that's what I tell people to do. And when you do it that way, now you don't feel overwhelmed. You're not overwhelmed with the next, you basically got 3 or 4 weeks off. You know, you've got your next 4 weeks of content planned out. You're good to go. And some clients even want to do it more than that. They may want us to come up with their first 60 days worth of content and they batch record, because I don't want any client, and you don't, as an attorney, you don't want to feel like you're going week to week and you get burned out and you're like, man, I can't do this anymore. This is wearing me down. If you sit down and you do the recording and it's scripted out, and there's different ways to do that. Some people like to go directly off the script and use like a teleprompter if they're natural at that. Other people just want to have their hook and their call to action scripted, and then they want to cover an outline for the rest of it. But whatever works best for the client, now they can go live and do their regular life and not get obsessed with worrying about YouTube, and everything else is put together for the next month.
And I love that. And I'm one of the ones that likes to, I know what I'm talking about, and maybe the call to action or whatever, and then just kind of let me roll with it. I'm not good with scripts, like reading word for word, not good.
Yeah.
But you get better, right? You get more comfortable. Yes. And so next month, the month after that, it's just like, hey, man, let's do more maybe. Let's step it up a little bit because you're comfortable. You can knock it out. And I know, like, with having, doing podcasting, like, it always gets more comfortable, right? And gets easier as you go. So you just got to put the repetitions in. But I love that process. I never really heard of anyone doing it like that, because I know friends that have, like, they do video for just all kinds of different companies and stuff like that. And I just like how you make it simple and easy, and kind of flip it around as far as like, hey, let's get the final, like, what's this going to look like? Then record. That makes it a lot easier, I think. That's cool.
Yeah, because at the end of the day, the personality behind the camera needs to be excited about what they're recording and have a high conviction to say, hey, this is the right thing to do. I feel good about doing this. Because, otherwise you might come across as boring or not even having the confidence in yourself. And and I tell people when you first start, just go look at some other lawyers on YouTube. You don't have to be great to do this. I mean, it's most of what's out there is abysmal. And just getting started and being you, just like you would be in a consultation, will more than earn that trust for the potential viewer.
That's awesome. I love it. That really kind of, brings it full circle. And, again, for me, if a lawyer's like, hey, should I do YouTube videos to generate clients? I've probably been like, probably be tough to do that. And I would give them my reason to make videos for sure. But I love the fact that this has worked out so well for you, and that you kind of have more of a process roadmap for others to be able to do the same thing. So
now, I don't know if you have one more second. I'm going to give the quick hit that if you're going to do this, here's what you need to do in your description. If you want people to call you, you have to make this really easy on the viewer. So one of the things that you can do is to, in the description section, somewhere within the first paragraph or after, I know a lot of times there's a competition between making sure you put your optimized keywords in the first paragraph, or whether or not you want to put work with me. So if you want someone to be able to call you and work with you, number one, put the phone number at the top of the screen. I do that on a lot of most of my videos.
So like
make it easy on them. In the video, like you would see on like you would do on TV or something, like someone would call a number, right? And literally I have it up at the top of my screen. And then in the description section, it's where there's my either my website, work with me, free consultation in the North Texas area, or what I do for, here's a big one. If you do have a nationwide practice, like I have an asset protection law firm that covers the entire nation. Now, if you're a civil lawyer, you can give out lead magnets where you can gather email addresses, and I'll say, hey, look, I just covered how to set up an LLC, a holding company for LLCs for your rental property. If you really want to learn more, download my free 3 steps to get started on your land or your trust or whatever it might be. And I'll send that over to you right now. Well, what do? They download it. I capture their email. It goes into HubSpot, and I can now email them on a remarketing campaign, and I own that. I can go back to them and introduce them to new products and services, and I'm building an email list.
Yeah, because, what good are just views if you never convert them or don't get their information, right?
100%. That's right. So that's where you've got to be strategic. It depends on your sales cycle, depends on the kind of business you do. Criminal, PI, people make decisions pretty quickly because they're in a stranded situation. Asset protection for rental properties, there's more deliberation involved. They're taking their time, they're comparing things. That's when lead magnets really work well. And you can, on that sales cycle, you can hit those touch points over and over again through email campaigns. And so you have to get to know your customer and the cycle in order to complete the sale.
No, that's great. That's a good tip there. And funny enough, I have short-term rental properties, and we were talking about that when we first chatted.
Yes.
Like, man, we got a lot of things we can talk about here. And yeah, it's great. I mean, I always like estate planning attorneys, right? Someone needs a will, a
Yes.
trust. These are things that we as people don't rush out to do, and we take our time, right? So lead magnets are great for that. Videos
Perfect.
of good content, getting to know them, so they might choose you as their estate planning lawyer. Works great for those kind of folks. So so many
Absolutely.
applications here, for sure.
Yeah. Well, I always tell people, once you get to know your audience and you know your sales cycle, you know your business, the sky's the limit. Any application, once you start growing your viewers and you get those return viewers that are loyal, you can now, because you never know. I mean, I don't think YouTube's going to make big changes in the near future, but they might. Google has. If I own their email address now and they're on my
Mhm.
newsletter and they're receiving new updates on things, and I'm able to leverage that through affiliates with other attorneys for referrals and other things, well, now all of a sudden you're able to create multiple streams of income from a list that is tangible that you own. And it's worked wonders for my asset protection channel so well. I don't even have 4,000. I have 3,900 subscribers, and it makes me an extra 30 to 40,000 a month.
Wow, that's awesome. That's super cool.
So
Well, I'm excited to get my new YouTube channel set up,
yes.
or multiple of them. So, man, I really appreciate you sharing, Jeff. I think, I just talked to a lawyer who's about to be on the podcast, very successful, a PI firm, and I was just mentioning you and that I was getting ready to record this with you, and he was immediately like, "No, wait, what? How's he do that?" And I would be interested to know if this is really what he's doing. So I think you'll hear a lot of that out there, and if you're listening right now, you might be one of those people. But I would say connect with Jeff, and or if you want, I can connect you with him. But this is real stuff. I'm very intrigued, and I'm a marketer, right? I should be already figuring this stuff out. But it comes down to time and belief, right? It won't work, or I ain't got time. And I think that's the two biggest challenges that people face with this. So, Jeff, what's the best way for someone listening right now, all our great attorneys out there, to reach out, connect with you, other than you being tagged in all this once we launch it?
Yeah, well, first of all, you can reach out to me on LinkedIn. Just look up Jeff Hampton. The name that I have for my business for consulting is YouTube Rainmakers, and that's why. And I tell people, to answer your question on that, you're right. Some people want to do this on their own. Other people want to get some coaching on it, and other people want an agency model where there's a proven step where everything's taken care of, and they just have to sit down and record. And
Yeah,
there's no excuse why someone's not going to do this. And I'm going to tell you right now. Let me tell you, this is the time to do it. Early adopters who get involved right now, now that I have 310,000 subscribers, it's going to take other criminal attorneys all the work that I've had to do to catch up to what I've been doing to take any of the business that I'm already established. So the earlier you get involved now, the
yeah.
quicker you're going to be able to gain a competitive advantage, and you're not relying on being in that small pond with all those fishes just trying to get your little amount of what's left over.
Yeah, good advice. And I think specifically, I mean, now YouTube's been around forever, right? But in the legal space, and specific to your state or practice area, I think it's a blue ocean. And I think everyone's jumped into Instagram and TikTok immediately, just trying to get viral views and likes and stuff like that. And they just don't have phone numbers. They're not calling you. They're not building that trust. And no one's really put attention on YouTube. So again, I think if it was a different industry, it's widely used. But I think for lawyers, it's still a massive blue ocean. So
Absolutely. I agree.
So, well, Jeff, man, I appreciate it. I always like talking with you and learning from you, and I'm excited to try to uh, apply these things and talk to you more about that too. So, everyone, thank you for tuning in. Hopefully, you found this educational. Reach out with Jeff or to Jeff and connect with him, please, and just appreciate him being on. So, we'll say goodbye, everyone. We'll see you on the next show, and stay tuned. We'll see you next week.